Hi, this is Matias Mariani, director of Shine Your Eyes, and this is the process behind Shine Your Eyes.
I'm looking for Ikenna Igbo.
The last time I saw your brother, he was walking away from my house.
I can't understand why he just disappeared the way he did.
Shine Your Eyes is a film about Amadi. Amadi is a Nigerian musician who comes to São Paulo, Brazil, to search for his brother, Ikenna. He was sent there by his family, who hasn't heard of Ikenna for a couple of months. He had interrupted communications without any warning. So the film is Amadi's trip through São Paulo. He ends up finding out that the life Ikenna said he lived in Brazil, was a successful professor of mathematics at the local university, is actually a fiction. And that Ikenna was just creating this fiction tailor-made for his family to feel like he was successful in Brazil. And through this investigation, Amadi finds out a lot about the brother, but in the end, it's much more a journey of self-discovery, of Amadi finding out facts and emotions about himself that are quite surprising both for him and the audience. I have a deep belief that otherness, alterity is at the heart of cinema. You know, it's actually in the heart of all arts. The desire to put yourself in someone else's skin, to see the world through their eyes, and that's the kind of cinema that usually touches me, and that's the kind of cinema I want to accomplish.
I know it because of the arrow of time. The arrow of time always hones in the colder future. Time is a complex collection of crystalline structures, of layers, and the arrow is always delving deeper into them, into us, forcing us forward. That's how I found myself inside of you.
Another very important motivation for us while doing Shine Your Eyes was to show the city of São Paulo, to discuss it, to portray it. It's a city I grew up on, and it's a city I'm deeply in love with. And more importantly, I feel it's severely underrepresented in the image people have of Brazil outside the country, because it doesn't look how people expect the country to be. It's huge. It's the biggest city in Latin America. It's ugly. You know, there's a lot of old buildings. It has a lot of history, and at the same time, it's a melting pot. It's a city built by immigrants, you know, both from outside and inside Brazil. And it was very important for me to have that well represented within the film. So the way to do that was that we chose to shoot on a 4:3 ratio, the Academy ratio, and always frame Amadi in the bottom half, usually to the left, so as to have the city kind of fill the rest of the screen, and have the film actually exist in a synergy between the story it was telling and the city as it permeated the screen. You know, we always believed that the film would be brought forth by that interaction in a way, and that was very important. Another thing that was very important was that early on, by studying Igbo mythology, we came up with the idea that in the Igbo cosmology, the first shape of the universe was a square. It was a Ulo Chukwu, the house of Chukwu, and that square broke, and from that the whole universe spilled out. And so we had a lot of the framing to always be, you know, that was actually Fernando Chimba, the production designer idea, to always have the frame of the film to be populated by squares and rectangles, and have that slowly morph throughout the film into more curved lines, and by the end we have a lot of circles as a way to symbolize like the full circle that Amadi goes through in his quest. I feel like the film has this characteristic of melding several different subjects and themes in the film. We talk about Igbo mythology, about mathematics, about modern physics, about the migration experience, about being an older sibling. It's in a way, it kind of intends to be its own cosmology. It's a mythological film. And if that sounds very ambitious, it's probably because it is. And I feel it's kind of typical for first films to be a little bit polyphonic like that, you know, wanting to deal with too much, because there's kind of a fear that you're never going to shoot again, you know, ever again in your life. And I think the film shares that characteristic with other first films. And maybe a little bit too much for its own good, but that's the way it is. So coming back to something I said in the very beginning, I think I do really believe in austerity, in otherness in filmmaking, but at the same time, it's very important to be truthful and be respectful to the community and the culture you're representing. And in my case, that was the Igbo culture and mythology. So it was a long process of study, of going to Nigeria, going to Igbo land, studying academic text as well as, you know, fiction, you know, the amazing Igbo writers such as Chimamanda Adichie, Chinua Achebe, and so many others who portray the society with such vivid colors. But at the same time, I feel that the more I studied, the more I felt like I needed an actual Igbo gaze, you know, someone who was from that culture to be a creative partner. And that's how I came across Chika Anado, this amazing film director and scriptwriter who directed Before Boy, which was one of the films that I mentioned previously, and who was so generous in coming to Brazil, staying a whole month with us, writing the last version of the script. And she brought so many aspects of, she fleshed out so many aspects of Igbo culture that I would never be able to do by myself. That was amazing. And then we also had Igbo contributors in other areas that were more specific, such as Chioma Thompson. She dealt with a lot of the religious aspect of the film, and Uchenna Ikone, who helped me with high life music and the musical aspect. So we had a lot of contributions to make it work, to make the film work as a whole. One of my favorite scenes in the film, it's a very simple scene. It's the first time that Emilia and Amadi go out to lunch. It was written by Francine Barbosa, who was one of the writers in the film. She's from São Paulo and extremely talented. And it's interesting, and I remember very well the first time I read her version of the scene, how I got very touched, because I feel it shows very well how two people who don't speak a common language can communicate. They communicate through Google Translate, but more profoundly, they communicate through the borders of language. They communicate through, you know, the way they say the words, the intonation, the gestures, the gazes. And I think that was very beautifully written. And once we started working with the actors, and it was interesting because we had exactly the same situation where Emilia and Amadi, you know, the actors are Osi Ukeje and Indira Nascimento. They didn't share language as well. So the rehearsals and then the shooting was kind of trying to emulate something that they had kind of inherently within their relationship, which is the necessity to understand and to capture ideas from each other without actually sharing a common tongue. So another scene that I would highlight is the scene of the concert hall, which takes place in Sala São Paulo, which is a concert hall that originally was a train station, and that so many immigrants and people from all over had their first experience with the city through that building, and that now is this very exclusive concert hall for classical music. And the shot starts, you know, very open, where you see the beautiful building and you see the orchestra, and slowly you zoom towards part of the public where we see our characters, Miro, Emilia, and Amadi. And I wanted to represent through that the sense that that place that was so receptive, that was a place of entrance to the city, now is actually an exclusive place where they're the only two black, Emilia and Amadi are the two only black people in the whole building, and how that exposes a very racist and elitist part of Brazilian society, which is extremely diverse, but when you go to the higher echelons of culture and of public life, it becomes extremely uncomfortable to be a black person in that situation. So that's the process behind Shine Your Eyes.